What's up guys, it's Johnny Candido of Candido Training HQ. Today I wanted to talk about a common problem and a tip I have to solve this. And the issue is that oftentimes when it comes to training your posterior chain, what you usually want to do is focus on heavy deadlifts, because obviously this is one of the best, if not the actual best exercise for your posterior chain, which is your lower back, hamstrings, and glutes. However, there can be an issue when it comes to recovery, because most people find that the ideal frequency for heavy deadlifts is around at just once a week, but they usually find that they make progress squatting and training legs more than once a week. And this is generally what I recommend. I'd recommend a lower upper off split if you're not on a specific program. So my tip to make this all work is to deadlift heavy on your first lower body training day, to squat and deadlift heavy, and then on your second lower body day, still squat heavy, but instead of deadlifting heavy, perform a deadlift variation. And the three variations I'd recommend are the stiff-legged deadlift, the snatch grip deadlift, and the deficit deadlift. All of these exercises essentially accomplish the same thing, and that is that they tax your posterior chain and they allow you to train your posterior chain to failure, but they force you to use lighter weights. So this won't tax your central nervous system as much as standard heavy deadlifts would. And each of these exercises have specific benefits in their own right as well. The snatch grip deadlift is very beneficial because it forces you to maintain thoracic extension and to keep your upper back tight. So this can be very useful for a beginner learning to use proper form, and it can be very useful for anyone who has trouble keeping upright and keeping proper posture in the squat. And then when it comes to the stiff-legged deadlift, this can be very helpful because it allows you to specifically target your posterior chain and take out any quad involvement. So because of this, this complements the squat a bit better. Since you've already trained your quads, now this allows you to only target your posterior chain, as I said. Another benefit is that it increases the stretch in your hamstrings out of the starting position. So even though you aren't literally increasing the range of motion in terms of bar displacement, you are increasing the range of motion in which the glutes and hamstrings are maximally contracted, since you are eliminating that quad involvement. And then when it comes to the deficit deadlift, the benefit is obvious that it's increasing the range of motion. Of all the variations, this one is likely going to have the best carryover into the conventional deadlift because the positions are very similar. However, a drawback to this variation is that if you already do not have proper form and say you're a beginner and you don't have proper form when it comes to the standard deadlift, then I would not recommend that you try this because it requires greater flexibility to get into the starting position. So instead, I'd recommend that you use the snatch grip deadlift because, as I stated, it essentially forces you to use proper form. And with this video, I'm essentially assuming that you're working in a similar rep range and intensity from workout to workout. Say 4 to 8 reps with a moderate to high intensity. Because if you do vary the loading, volume, and intensity, then you certainly can perform the standard deadlift more than once a week. But as I said, this is more for those keeping a moderate to high intensity level, focusing on just building muscle and general strength, and not really on a particular specific powerlifting program. Something I've noticed is that I can rely on these variations, and it always carries over very well into the actual standard heavy deadlifts. However, I've not found this to be true for the bench and squat. See, when you're squatting and benching, there's a certain skill to it because you have to bring it down right in the right place to then lift it off. So even though I'm experienced in squatting, I still do this all the time where I lower it just a little bit in the wrong place and it messes up the movement. However, in the deadlift, you can set up exactly where you want to start. So it's a bit easier in terms of the skill required for the movement, making it a bit easier to transition from one variation to the next. When I deadlifted 5 plates for 6 reps for the first time in my life, that was actually coming off a 6 to 7 month period of not doing any standard heavy deadlifts. So I'm not just telling you to use these variations because in theory it sounds like a good idea, but I've actually had personal experience and have seen it work well for me personally. Alright, that's it guys. I hope this video was helpful. Make sure to like the video to support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching guys. Peace!
We want substance in the place of popularity. We want to think our own thoughts. We want love, not lies. We want knowledge, understanding, and peace.